conscious relationship involves a number of things, and one of the pieces here for Imago Dialogue that it really gets right is about boundary setting. And part of this is the context to which we actually even use this tool. So just because I want to talk about something doesn't mean that it's a good time to talk about it. Just because I want to go right now, I want to solve this issue right now, doesn't mean it's a good time for my partner. Okay, gentlemen. So today we're going to be talking about the Imago Dialogue, and this is something that was created by Harville Hendricks and Helen Hunt, and can be found in the famous book Getting the Love You Want. And the way that Harville frames this, one of the reasons why dialogue is important is that in his words, talking is the most dangerous thing that people do. And really, that's because we get into conversation formats that can be like monologues, where one person is, inherently in a superior position, talking down to the other, and they can go back and forth like this over issues that are important in the relationship. One person can feel inferior in that dynamic and feel put down and go into, a defensive place. Essentially, when you're being talked down to, when you feel like someone's talking at and down to you, can arouse a sense of anxiety, which naturally would send someone into a defensive or offensive position. So the dialogue is important because it brings equality to these conversations and is more of a horizontal exchange of information versus this top-down kind of communication, that vertical communication that I'm talking about in a monologue format. So there's no, one-up dynamic. And it's structured. So Imago Dialogue is a safe conversation format. It's a trauma-informed format. And the thing to know about this is safe conversations aren't necessarily going to resolve all the problems or issues in your relationship, but nothing can be solved without this skill. So it's really important for couples to learn actually how to use this and to practice it, and to make appointments to have conversations that are important. This is a very efficient tool for exchanging information. It emphasizes that there's a speaker and that there's a listener. And listening is one of the things that is most infrequent. And part of that is because we don't listen well, but there's also a lot of distortion in terms of what's being said back and forth between two people. So really what we're learning how to do here is how to talk without judgment, to listen without reacting. And this helps to make a conversation safe. And this is really an essential part of being in a conscious relationship. So the classic Imago Dialogue has 3 steps, and that's mirroring, validating, and empathizing. And when you're in this conversation and you're practicing listening and mirroring back what you're hearing from the other person without reaction or judgment, without inserting your own opinion about what's really going on, you accept and validate the other person's reality and perspective without submitting or surrendering your own opinion, your own reality. So it's about understanding instead of just focusing on agreement. And it also emphasizes that you value your partner's perspective, you value your partner's world, and what's important to them, and what things really mean to them, and that you're willing to turn off your own TV channel for a few moments to really get that, and to sit with that, and to hold space for that, and to really take this responsibility on, that I want to get where you're coming from. I want to get what you're saying. And part of that is about equality, that I value your perspective, I value your worldview, and I value mine. And not necessarily that mine is more important than yours. Right? So a lot of this exchange and these designated roles of sender and receiver that we're going to learn about are creating this horizontal format, trying to neutralize any of that, inferiority, superiority going on, and bring equality to people's perspectives. And when you do this, you're really saying to the other person, I respect your otherness. I respect your difference. And actually, there's something interesting about that to me. And wow, isn't it a wonder, actually, that you're so different and you have this totally different worldview. And maybe there's something there to learn for myself. And here's how I see it. And this is part of the building connection. This is part of the, creating safety in a relationship that two people can hold space for each other's reality. One of the things that's emphasized in the handout I put in the Google Drive is the importance of making an appointment. So, conscious relationship involves a number of things, and one of the pieces here for Imago Dialogue that it really gets right is about boundary setting. And part of this is the context to which we actually even use this tool. So just because I want to talk about something doesn't mean that it's a good time to talk about it. Just because I want to go right now, I want to solve this issue right now, doesn't mean it's a good time for my partner. And what this philosophy is saying is that you need to be able to contain part of your experience, to self-soothe when your partner's not available, but also take responsibility to say, I would like to talk about this, is now a good time. And for the other person to authentically say that it is or it isn't, while making a commitment to have the conversation, to follow through on what they say they're going to do, to show up for their partner, to have the difficult talk, and to commit to that within a reasonable time frame, which in my view would be 24 to 48 hours. Essentially, you want to try to have these conversations and repair issues as quickly as possible. And I'm not saying with a sense of urgency that we have to freak out, but just, hey, just as quickly as possible, I'm going to prioritize this over the football game. I'm going to, repair this with you over, I'm excited about the new season that came out on Netflix, and to make an appointment to sit down without distractions to hear your partner out. And one of the things that is emphasized here is species injury. And this is the kind of historic failure of the caretaker who says not now. And then they just kind of put it off and don't really show up. So that might be personal to you or not, but it is a big deal to be attuned to your partner, to hear that something's going on, and to follow through when you say, okay, not now, but let's do it tomorrow at 9 a.m. Are you available? Does that work? To work this out. Okay, so that's a really important part of context for making an appointment. And again, just emphasizing boundaries and consent, that now is a good time, and that each person is going to have a responsibility there about being honest about whether they are and holding space if your partner's not. There are two roles in Imago Dialogue. There's a sender and there's a receiver. And both of those people have unique responsibilities. The sender is responsible for sharing about their experience. What I want to talk about is, this thing about our sex life, this thing about lifestyle, the chores, the kids. And to do that in a way that uses I statements, emphasizes, I'm experiencing this is what's going on for me. I'm frustrated that. And to do that in one or two or maybe three sentences, but just in short snippets, so that the person who's receiving, who's really trying to do a good job of listening, is not overwhelmed and flooded with a bunch of information, that they're able to get bite-sized chunks to mirror back, what I hear you saying is, and to confirm accuracy, did I get that? And then to show curiosity, is there more about that? And then the sender can, share more. Now, in this process, when the receiver, as you guys will find out today, when the receiver is getting a ton of information, they have a responsibility to raise their hand, and they can just do it gently. They don't have to, shove it in their partner's face. Just raise their hand and signal to the sender that they're getting full. And so the sender is going to pause, stop, and take that as a, first of all, point that actually the receiver is there present and paying attention, and they really want to get it. So the sender pauses, and the receiver mirrors back, what I hear you saying is. And when they're done, again, confirm for accuracy, curiosity, is there more about that? And this is how the flow of information is exchanged. And really what the receiver is wanting to do is, I want to get what you're saying. I really want to get it. And I want you to feel in your body that I'm getting it. And this isn't about performance or faking it or over-functioning. It's with a real kind of sincerity that I'm here showing up in this conversation. I've made space for this. And I really want to try to understand this. And that's one of the reasons that this works well, when it's done in this way with that sense of sincerity, and the sender gets that sense of relief that, okay, that, wow, they're really hearing me, they're being patient, they're not inserting defensive statements, they're not saying, hold up, what about this? So the receiver is turning off their TV station, they're not inserting their opinions, defensive statements, rebuttals, other interpretations of what's going on. They're really just being present. So if the sender says, I am frustrated that you came home today and you left your briefcase on the counter and you didn't say hello to me. The receiver doesn't say, well, no, that's not true. Or I was busy, I rushed into the kitchen. There's none of that. It's just saying, okay, what I hear you saying is that I put my briefcase down, I didn't even say hello to you. Did I get that? Okay, is there more about that? And so there's something about this structure that can feel a little bit awkward at first. It can even feel clunky. It can feel unnatural. And that's okay. I just want you to be curious to try this out and to see what's there and get a feel for it. When we're given sentence stems and canned prompts like you're going to be given in the dialogue, it can feel inauthentic to some degree. But the way you can bring authenticity to that is by filling in those blanks, with transparency and vulnerability, and letting your partner in on your reality.